Today we are playing Americans versus mixed German force. For the Americans, we've taken a company of 101st Airborne. We have 2 SMG formation command teams, 3 full-strength platoons, each with an extra bazooka and 2 light machine guns added. We've got the 4 80mm mortars and the 2 57mm anti-tank guns. In support, we got a unit of, I promise those are American Shermans, not Canadian, 4 105mm howitzers, and 2 P-47 Thunderbolts upgraded with the napalm card.
All right, and for our German force today, we have a core formation of Fallschirmjägers. We haven't seen light in a while. We have our formation command team with 2 full-strength platoons. We have an 8cm mortar and 3 Pak 40s, 7.5 centimeters. We also have brought along the SMG team and a full force strength of Fallschirmjäger Stugs attached. They've also been supplemented with a second company, SS formation. We have our reconnaissance HQ, a full strength reconnaissance platoon, a standard armor panzer grenadier platoon, 12cm mortars, along with a Puma and 250 scout troop that are part of that core company. We have no dedicated formation support today.
So in reserve, I've got a platoon of Shermans, my 105s, and my P-47s. I've got in ambush my 57mm, and then for my deployment, I've got my 82mm mortars in this back corner. I forward deployed a unit of infantry here to hold this point and get in the way of them, and then I deployed these 2 platoons in the back line, trying to avoid being under that ranged-in marker while still holding the objective. On to the German deployment.
All right, so starting over here, the Fallschirmjäger, both infantry platoons with their HQ, have followed an escort of a Puma spearhead to come around and cross through this forest and take this flank. The mortars are along our deployment here with a good line of sight across the breadth of the open field. We've used a small amount of spearhead off the 250 Scout just to move. We were limited by our 16 inches back from his deployment, but the Pak 40s and the heavy SMGs, which will want to move up and take positions here on the front of these fields and forest in their turn, and again, give a night's breath of fire across that field. The Stugs, the Fallschirmjäger Stugs here, are going to follow the road up and join into that whole bastion on that corner. And then just to keep pressure along the front, we have our light mortars here spaced across, and we have our 2 recon and regular armored panzer grenadier companies. They're still mounted in their half tracks for the moment, but set up to be able to advance to keep pressure along this front. So we have our ranged in over there that he has tried to dodge, but it has kind of compressed him into the center of the forest and pushed him back off that one objective. We'll hopefully be able to get a foothold on for our 6th turn, and we're ready to take our first turn.
All right, off we go.
All right, so we've done German movement for turn 1. The half tracks have all surged forward along this flank. There's been a large surge forward of the armored cars and Stugs along here. The SMGs moved forward as well. Along this flank, the Pumas and all the Jaegers have shifted forward. We have one along the tree line edge, one staying deeper in the forest to move wider around the flank. And that brings us to the end of the German movement. We'll set up for our shooting. All right, so for German shooting, we're going to shift our pre-ranged light mortar bombardment, likely just into that big cluster along the front of that forest line. The heavy mortars, probably into the platoon next to them. And then the rest will just be machine gun or cannon shots up and down the line into these dug-in infantry. Maybe we get lucky and pick off a team or 2. It'll be some hard odds at this stage, but we'll play that out, and then we'll be back to report. All right, so we finished our shooting. We did get both batteries ranged in, one in the middle of each platoon. And so we've pinned down both of those platoons. We did range in the second attempt, and we did actually manage to get a firepower and successfully remove one of the LMG teams from that my right-hand platoon. The horde of machine gun fire from here did actually manage to succeed and pass a firepower and remove the one bazooka. We also scored just the 5 hits out of this whole spray, and so that left that platoon pinned down as well. The rest of the firing we went through, but nowhere past both the infantry save and the firepower. But we did leave his whole front line pinned down and took out 2 utility teams. So we'll move into the beginning of American turn.
All right, so command step, turn 1. I'm going to start by unpinning my units on 3+. Yep. On 3+. With the commander reroll. Still staying pinned this turn. And the last one over here. Yes. And then I roll for my reserves. 1 die. And I get a unit.
Okay.
Okay, so I chose my Shermans for my reserve, and they came in and tactical forward. Then this platoon shifted over to the right to get out from underneath the bombardment. This platoon is unfortunately just going to stay and hope the foxholes keep it not dead. And that'll be my movement, so we'll go on to shooting. All right, for shooting, the Shermans are going to open up into the 251 half tracks. I'm then going to attempt to range in a bombardment with my 82mm mortars on top of his medium mortars. And then this platoon over here will shoot into this Fallschirmjäger platoon here. And I will then look to see if any of these in the tree line here can do anything about these half tracks. And then finally, I will use a formation commander, once I figure out which one, to potentially spot a unit commander, not a formation commander, because all my unit commanders have radios, to spot a bombardment for the single gun from that platoon.
All right, we'll roll it all off and see how it goes.
All right, so my Shermans killed a half track and bailed out 3 more, and I failed to range in my bombardment on the mortars, and I got 1 hit over here and did nothing. So, end of American turn 1, on to German turn 2.
So
Jumped the gun a little bit on the camera today.
Yep.
We have the 2 251s. They did both remount. The commander's half track
rolls right there.
is also bailed out. They do also remount. And for the 2 infantry teams that are out from the 1 destroyed half track, they have a pin down. And they also are ready to continue that fight. They are lucky. Some firepower tests saved their bacon for this turn. And we'll proceed into our movement phase. All right, so we've opted for another aggressive push. The Jaegers have surged out of the forest and are going to try and overrun this platoon, backed up by the whole armored push. It has all shifted up. The machine guns and the packs are almost getting blocked out a little bit, screened by my own units. So some of the machine guns have started to shift over, same with the packs, other than a couple that had clear columns to shoot. We're going to move the artillery that's now out of range, likely to range in here, along with the mortars that are going to do a repeat. And then the half tracks, the remounted the 2 extra teams, so they're split, because they have enough with the 3 left, raced around, because I do not really want to engage those Shermans with the formation commander for the SS portion of the force following or leading. And they're following in the recon platoon that is actually set up potentially to do an armored mounted assault against the wing of those infantry that are out and exposed, seeing as the rest of the force will either be out of range to support or blocked by their own LOS to see through the forest to try and stop it. That might go off. We'll see. We're going to play out the shooting and see how it goes.
And what exactly are we doing for our shooting?
So the shooting, we'll start with the artillery. We'll do the repeat And this is expecting to also just kind of range into the same spot because everywhere else is danger close. And then it'll be guns up and down the line all the way around and trying to clear him out of these objectives, particularly this one. But also we want to just make sure that this force here can't unimpededly move this way by keeping it tied down with all these half tracks.
All right, and a possible assault you said on those with the
Possibly. We'll see how the shooting goes.
Cool. We'll roll it out and be right back.
All right, so it wasn't the worst, but just a modest shooting phase. A lot of dice were thrown, MGs, but with units in foxholes. We did get both artillery units ranged in. We've taken out the LMGs from that squad, reduced a couple strength. Over here, hordes of machine gun fire. Actually, didn't quite roll as well as we would have hoped, but we did take out a couple units along with the LMGs as well. I'm debating a Fallschirmjäger assault with the lead elements. Over here, he failed actually a shocking number of infantry saves from the hordes of machine guns, but 6 firepowers, we didn't actually pass any. We are considering a mounted assault there as well, so I'm going to take a moment to think, and we'll see you back. All right, so being the ever-aggressive player, we decided to go home for the assaults. We did charge in here. It actually went back and forth for about 3 or 4 rounds as we each took out 2 or 3 stands kind of a turn. I did lose 3, but with the advantage of the first round and a couple of his being heavy weapons, so they were lesser assault ratings, we were able to clear that platoon out entirely. No one broke off. It was fought to the last man. Over here, we actually only killed the 1 rifle team, and he actually broke off, but by some fantastic luck, his bazooka and 2 of the rifle shots, rolling 6s, bailed out 3 of the half-tracks.
Those 3 kind of around
the other ones
dice.
did at least drive them back. By the way, he did change dice for that, so we'll see. But then we consolidated you just slightly back to stay out of the lead bazookas from the forest. But that drives them back here, creating an opening for our half-tracks. So it was a positive, successful assault phase for the Germans. We'll go into the American start phase.
All right, I'm going to start by unpinning. We're going to start here. They unpin. And here. They unpin. And then we get 2 dice for reserves, because it is my turn too. And I'll get a unit.
Okay.
I will choose my planes. So then I roll to see if they come on. And they do not.
Okay.
All right, so for the American movement, I've shifted away from underneath the bombardments here. I'm going to try and reclaim that objective. This American airborne platoon moved up back into the trees. I then brought my Shermans around, attempted to cross-check those 2 there and there, but they failed. So the other 3 are just moving up so they can shoot at those half-tracks there. And otherwise, that's my movement.
All right, on to shooting.
So for the shooting phase, this is not going to have a needle on his sight because it is more than 6 inches away, unfortunately. So I will once again attempt to range in a bombardment with these mortars over there on those mortars. Then the Shermans will open up on the half-tracks. The infantry will open up on the half-tracks. And that'll be my shooting phase.
All right, we'll roll some dice and be right back.
Okay, so I successfully ranged in my bombardment on his mortars, pinning them down. But otherwise not killing them. And then over here, with the combined fire of the Shermans and the machine guns and the bazooka, I managed to kill 4 of the small half-tracks, and
everybody did survive to get
push
out.
them out. So they're possibly going to need a last stand check on the half-tracks and a an unpin on the troops around them. So we'll move on to the German command step, turn 3.
All right, so we are doing a remount for our 2 half-tracks that were out. 1 will have passed. We jumped the gun a little bit here on the camera, poor
Jump
woman.
the gun again, and you won't get to.
But
you'll have to reroll.
1 is still bailed out. Does leave us 3. We do have pinned down for the infantry unit Boom. They are fearless, and they are today. And that is actually it for the command step. No one else was pinned down at the moment. So yeah.
Your artillery up on the hill.
The mortars.
Oh, you're right. The Fallschirmjäger mortars,
Stay pinned.
they stay pinned. Well, at least he's moved out from under that repeat, so we don't have that today. They stay pinned. All right, that will go on a movement. All right, so most of it was a pretty standard move. The Fallschirmjägers have moved up in force to continue sweeping that flank. The entire armored wave has swung around. The only real confusion part will be over here. All the SS units have dismounted. We've got the HQ is dismounted here, one platoon here. One has gotten out of the remaining half tracks and shifted forward, which was just kind of cautious to get things to keep formation HQs near their half tracks, near the formation commanders. We wanted to use the one FOST from each of the 3 platoons that are here to help try and whittle down some of these Shermans, with the rest being some return fire at the units in those trees. A couple of Stoogs will actually be able to see through this burning wrecks now into the Shermans, just to get some a little extra bit of fire, long shots, and that'll be it. Our mortars moved down out from under that bombardment, and the guns and the MGs have kind of just slowly waddled their way forwards to try and not be entirely useless for the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go into shooting. There'll be some mixed machine gun fire here. The FOSTs will be the key component. The couple outside Stoogs that can see through the half-track burning wrecks will also lend their fire. There'll be 6s. Here he's really too deep for too much. We might try and shift the one mortar to the outside edge of this forest and clip a few, but that's honestly the only thing that's not going to be entirely danger close. We'll see if there's a target for that. We'll play it out and we'll see what we can do. All right, so it wasn't a bad shooting phase. We did get a range in here, which caused the 2 outside teams to get hit and pinned down. Mm-hmm. There was a couple lead elements who could see enough through the forest. We did get one team knocked off there. We did have a few shots along here, losing only the bazooka, but you know, that is important for me. And the one team here was able to FOST and take out a Sherman successfully. The rest, either they all actually missed, is what it was. So that is the end of our shooting. We've looked down at some assaults. Nothing right now feels too viable with the defensive fire and the scattered nature of my men. So we will let it go on to Americans.
Alrighty.
All right, command step. I'm gonna unpin. Yes. Was the only thing pinned. Planes, I think, are before reserve. I get my planes and my guaranteed reserve, but I'll roll anyways. I will very much get my 1 unit of reserves.
Fantastic.
So we'll do my movement now. Okay, so first things first, I revealed my ambush right here. They're foxholed, just outside of 4 inches from the enemy half tracks. Then I brought my reserves on, my 105s. My infantry in this forest dug in. My Shermans moved around to maximize their shots and to the dudes in the trees. This platoon, some of the teams remained stationary while the rest moved forward to maximize their firepower into the Fallschirmjäger, with the 60 mil staying behind to finally actually maybe shoot. And my plans are coming in swooping low to save the day.
Alrighty, let's see how it goes.
Shermans will open up into the Panzer Grenadiers there in the forest. My parachute infantry platoon will shoot moving red fire as much as they can here. I will potentially range in a new bombardment using my mortars. They cannot fire this turn as they move. This squad, as mentioned in my movement step, is going to shoot into the Fallschirmjäger. I will decide what these shoot at and let you know what they do after. And my planes here will attempt to bombard this.
Right.
We'll be back after we roll. Alright, in my shooting phase, my planes swooped in, dropped napalm on the Jaegers, killing a few of them and pinning them down. Over there, my Shermans opened up on the tree line a la Fury, killing a few teams. That platoon opened up on the infantry, killing a few teams, as you can see there.
I've failed almost every infantry save the entire term.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing I had a lot of extras.
The 57 millimeters split their fire. One went into the 250 half-tracks there. The other two went into the Scout 250s, killing 2 and only bailing that out. And then I followed up with a few rifle shots on the Jaegers, but didn't do anything more appreciable. So that'll be the end of my turn 3, and we'll be moving on to German turn 4, because I do not believe I want to risk that assault.
All right, so we've got the German starting step. We've got unpins down the line mostly. We got Jaeger platoons who have a reroll, fortunately. Fearless Jaegers always need a reroll. I don't understand why. That's how it works. Other platoon, they're up.
And the
We've got mortars are still pinned. Oh yeah, himself needs to reroll himself.
Yeah,
does. Okay, fortunately. There. Always keep commanders near your laggers. Fearless is a lie. Over here, the mortars are still pinned down from the other turn. They stay pinned. And we've got some half-tracks bailed out. Gets in. Gets in. One's tokens hidden. They're in. We do have a last stand on the 250 Scout.
They're also pinned because they took 6 hits from my MGs.
Oh, yes.
Okay, they're good.
The SS dice are with me on that turn because they were the ones who failed all of the infantry saves last turn.
They're like, sorry, don't shove us in a closet. We love you.
Every person who got hit died.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the last stand there. 4 6s in a row. All right, a little bit of luck there. We will take that absolutely. We'll go on to movement. All right, so the 1-pack 40 failed to get out of the forest, so the other ones have just kind of shuffled out just to be a backup force in the open if things turn awry and the Shermans get loose. The teams here shuffled a 1 token brave man forward, each to shoot a Faust into those Shermans. The Stoogs moved up. They'll be taking shots through the smoke of the various half-track wreckages, but they're at least now in 16 to shoot at those Shermans. Mm-hmm. Everything here has lined up and stacked up. A couple teams in the back stayed stationary with the rest moving over, preparing for an assault to drive them off, with the Pumas and the surviving half-track coming around the flank, so they're within range to lend some weight of fire. And the half-tracks and the SS formation here actually cross-checked into here and are hoping to flank these AT guns and drive them out of position so they're not sitting behind these Stoogs. That was really our movement. Machine guns and such have kind of advanced. They've really not contributed a lot, but some of the things just couldn't keep up with the speed of the advance. But we're going to play this out. Hopefully we can deal with the infantry in the forest, the AT guns, and the Shermans this turn.
All right, and so that's kind of what's everything shooting into what's everything?
That's what we're going to be shooting as well, so we're going to play that out.
All right, and we'll be back.
All right, so a rather weak shooting phase overall. We did knock off a couple teams there, 1 or 2, and almost everything else missed. We did get a lot of shots pinning down the AT guns and the platoon there. We didn't pass the firepower for the dug-in on them, and he passed a lot of infantry saves. So, again, lackluster shooting, but there will be potentially some assaults. Perhaps these guys closing in on at least those AT guns. We didn't really thin them enough to probably go ahead, but we'll give it a consideration. We'll see after the assault phase. All right, so we did go in the assault. The half-tracks were rolling really well on cross-checks and were able to go in and assault the back of the AT guns to avoid their defensive fire, so we cleared those out. The Fallschirmjägers only took 1 hit, which they survived on the charge in, which was very lucky. We were able to kill several members of that platoon along with one of the formation command members, and the rest failed to counterattack and ended up getting pushed back, driving them a little further into the forest. So that was a decent assault phase for us, and we'll just do a little bit of shuffling on the Jaegers there for their consolidate, and we'll be into the top of the U.S. turn.
Alright, American turn 4 command step, unpin them, and planes. Okay, moving on. Alright, brought my Shermans around, 2 of them cross through the forest there, and I'm pushing some of my rifle teams here to engage this stuff with potential charge afterwards. And I moved up my 105s so I can eventually get some shots off.
Cool. On to shooting.
Shermans are going to shoot the Stugs. Infantry here will shoot into the infantry in the half tracks here. I'll check to see if they have line of sight. They might direct fire. I don't think they do. And I don't know that I'll be able to do too much with the mortars. I might attempt to range them in on that forest there that I left behind. And then this infantry will engage this Jaeger platoon.
Alright, we'll roll some dice and see how it goes.
Alright, this infantry shot here, killing a team. Could not get line of sight with my 105s. I was able to range my mortars in on that tree stand, but didn't get anything. One of my Shermans split fire down here, killing a half track. The other 3 shot the Stugs, but did nothing. And this infantry I forgot to roll. Shooting the infantry. Getting 1 hit.
He's okay.
All right.
For the moment.
So then this infantry also shot into here, doing nothing. So I'm going to move on to my self phase. Alright, attempted to charge here, lost both teams. Charged that unit of 4 that moved out, and 3 of them died, so they fell back.
Alright.
On to German turn
5.
5.
Alright, so pretty sparse starting step. I've got mortars that have still been pinned down a little while. They finally find their courage. And that's all we've got for starting step at the moment. We'll look at some movement, see what comes out. All right, so at the top of German 5, we started to move some stuff around. Looked at, really the Shermans were point blank to more than enough AT to really clear them out, remove them from combat effective. We've decided to give her a call there. The Allies are running out of stuff to throw at the fight. So that is our Airborne Carentan fight for the day. A German Fallschirmjäger SS combined victory. So it was a well fought fight. And honestly, his reserves came in a timely manner. Rolling wasn't bad, ups and downs for both sides. But there was a wall of Jaegers that you just
Ups
couldn't
and
stop.
downs.
He failed all his infantry saves on
Yeah.
one turn.
Ups and downs for him.
Okay, so mine swung around.
You
Yours
changed
wasn't entirely
dice.
Lost.
You changed the dice.
Yeah, I know, and then my luck still did what
What?
it does, so...
What was that
It's all
quote from our live stream? A refugee from the
Laws of probability.
Laws of Probability. That's what it was.
So,
A lot of it was just, I had weight in the right places. There was just so many infantry that I was able to keep pushing in. And, you know, a little bit of luck that the assaults didn't get pushed back, but they were all mathematically in my favor to do so. So, sometimes it plays out. It is a tough fight either way. I find a lot of defender missions are very tough,
well, that's
especially if
all
your
good.
reserves don't come in, but you were lucky today.
Is attack and defender missions.
Yeah, I know. The
So-
defenders, honestly, I do find sometimes it's a little tough. This one came out in my favor, but I had a lot of forces. There was a lot of mobility. With the spearhead up the one flank, it was kind of coming from all directions, and things couldn't move without exposing themselves to support each other.
So, well fought.
Another good fight.
Yeah.
We'll probably see you again before long.
So, We're all in this together, so keep your sticks on the ice.
Take care, everybody.